Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I know it's a very difficult time for a lot of people, just considering people going to war, having to face that. So it's interesting, like my whole topic today is on the mythology behind each of the astrology signs, each one of the zodiac signs in the system of astrology. I'd really like to know how many people are familiar with astrology here in this group. A bit? Okay. Um, who is not very familiar with astrology, just so I know? Okay. Okay, wonderful. My segment this morning is really about the mythology behind the zodiacs themselves, and then Claude Chalk is an amazing astrologer, is going to go through the basics of the planets, the houses, the zodiacs, and how they are related and how they all work together. So my position here today is to speak more on the hero's journey behind each one of the signs, the hero's journey behind the zodiac itself. In astrology, it is a study of the stars. It's been around predating 3,000 years back. It is originated from Chaldean or Babylonian philosophy that then went on to move through Egyptian culture and then also the Greek and Roman cultures later on, and now today in its very watered down position in our experience. It's a very complex system, and it's rooted in a lot of math, a lot of star dating back before the Gregorian calendar changed our dynamic as how we look at time. So today we're looking at kind of a shadow of what has already come, and we're kind of behind the scenes a little bit because of the time in our calendar that we use now. So just to let you know, it's a study of the stars, but it's also a study of time. It's the time and the cycles, and it depicts the seasons based off a culture that was very rooted in the rising of the sun and the rising of the moon, and the time that the sun or the earth is moving around the sun, and the seasons that we fall into and why. Why is it that we have spring? Why is it that we have winter? And a lot of it, especially in indigenous cultures, they're basing it off their nutriment, how they get food, when they can grow food, when they can't grow food. And a lot of the deities and the gods of the time were the gifters of their harvest, the gifters of what they were given. So each one of these zodiacs or constellations were myths. There were stories behind each one of these zodiacs. And these stories are what Carl Jung, who was a psychologist, talked about the collective unconscious, that we all share a common consciousness, which is rooted in our human DNA for centuries, because we are storytellers at heart. We orate to each other the meaning of things, and we can agree to those meanings or we cannot agree to those meanings, depending on where we are in our ability to survive this world experience, this earth plane. So with that being said, I'm going to give you a little background to each one of the constellations, and it's going to make a lot more sense as we get going. Once Claude finishes his presentation, you'll be able to kind of put the pieces into place. But first off, we're going to start with the mythology of Aries. Aries is rooted in the springtime. It is the mythology of the golden fleece. The golden fleece was considered the panacea to all soldiers. So when a soldier would be wounded, they would go into the grove of Aries, which is the god of war. This is why Aries is associated with war, is also an element of the fire sign. Through fire, most things can be closed and healed. When you get a wound, most often they would burn it closed instead of suturing it. The fire allows it to be protected in order for healing to occur. So when soldiers would go out and they would lay down in the grove of Ares and they were wounded, the god of war, Ares, would put the golden fleece over them and it would completely heal their body. Then they were able to go out and go back to their families and restore their balance and their health. This is really a beautiful story in terms of us understanding what Aries energy brings people. It brings you healing, often due to high levels of stress. Now, Aries energy is associated with the hero Jason and the Argonauts. They were a band of warriors and brothers together that were tasked to help Ares find his rightful place in his family. He was raised by seemingly his parents, but he comes to find out that his parents were actually not his true lineage. So many Aries people will actually feel alienated from their families, and they will feel as though they have to go out and seek where their true heritage comes from, their lineage. That's why you'll find a lot of Aries people very interested in antiques or things that have to do with the origins of where they come from. Jason was given the task by his actual father, who was a king, and he was told, I would like you to prove that you are my son and go on this quest and go and get me the golden fleece, which is the panacea. It is the philosopher's stone. It is the ailment to all ills of humanity. And that was his task. So it's a lofty task. And he wasn't raised as a warrior. He was raised as a peasant. He knows how to farm. He knows how to grow agriculture. He knows the tools that he's been given. But he knows he can't do it alone. So he gets his band of brothers together to help him go through these experiences so that he's able to find the golden fleece and bring it back to his father to be honored and embraced. His stepmother, which it's really interesting that Michelle previously, just yesterday, talked about these internal family systems and the roots of trauma. And we see that through mythology, each one of these signs is rooted in family trauma. All of the heroes' journeys are a depiction of the stories of what we go through in our collective unconscious and what individual stories that we are going through in our own personal heroic journeys ourselves. So Aries goes through these different tests. They never go alone, even though they appear to be loners. They never fight alone, even though they appear to be extremely independent. They are in a very solitude type of way, only for the benefit of all. When Jason was confronted with his test of having to overcome obstacles, the best way that he knew how to fight, because Aries are very associated with warrior type energy, they know how to fight by being calm. They know how to fight by easing their opponent. So when he came across a herd of extremely angry animals, he would touch their forehead and just tell them to be calm, to be quiet. And then they just slept and he was able to go through. So it's the path of least resistance to understanding the energy that is to be fought is most likely chaotic and violent. And how can we transform through that is through calming the body, calming the situation by not overreacting to things. This is a test for many Aries that they have to overcome for themselves. So these myths, when we're talking about them, they have like this strain of awareness. It could be your sun sign, it could be your moon sign, which rules your emotions, your sun sign rules personality. It doesn't necessarily mean if you just are an Aries. It can come out in different ways in your life and how you use those different planetary energies effectively. So that's the beautiful thing about Aries is it's associated with learning how to de-stress during difficult situations. That's the benefit of an Aries. They can lead, but they lead imbalanced. They lead more with their masculine energy than with their feminine energy. And the reason why they come to this awareness and the meaning behind when you look at a horoscope and say, today this may happen, or your pattern may be like this, it's all rooted in the myth, the mythology of what gives Aries that meaning. So there was a time before the golden fleece was given to the warriors as the panacea for their wounds, for their healing. Is there was twins. There was a boy and a girl who were in fear of their lives, and the golden fleece was commissioned by a goddess to save these twins. So the golden fleece lives in the groves of Aries, which is like the most beautiful heaven on earth. And I always liken this golden fleece to a fat little ram with little wings. And it's just really basking in the grove. And it really doesn't want to do too much except bask in the sun and just be in the grove and just hang out and just chill. But when it gets a call and it says, I need you to do this, it jumps up and is like, okay, where do you want me? I'm ready. Let's go. You know, it's ready to answer the call. It's going to go forward and do it. So the golden fleece flies off and it finds the twins and it gets the twins out of danger, which is the masculine part of ourselves and the feminine part of ourselves. And it flew over the Hellenistic rivers and it dropped the feminine into the ocean. Or dropped the girl. So Aries has a difficult time beginning things and sometimes finishing the task in completion. This is a difficult, sometimes behavioral thing that can happen with a lot of Aries energy. And these are stereotypes. It's not true for all Aries, but the energy itself can be true for some. So this aspect of Aries energy not adopting their feminine aspect of themselves is really because of this myth. It's always journeying back to the feminine. It's always journeying back to get integration with the self. So they all kind of fold on top of one another in terms of the mythologies, which many of them are documented, but many of them have been lost, with the libraries of Alexandria being burned, and we are piecing it together as much as possible to find out what is the meaning behind this and where did it all come from. It wasn't all just channeled. These are thousands and upon thousands of years of orated stories that have been given to humanity. Anyone here in Aries? Girl. There you go. Any of these ringing true for you? Okay. Beautiful. I am also an Aries sister, so I get you. Um, the next myth, does anyone have any question? Like when you think of another thing too, I'd really like to get people's awareness of astrology. If anyone gives me, if you know a little bit about it, what are the first things you think of when you think of an Aries? Like what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Yeah. God of War. Yeah. Courageous. Okay. What's that? Acts first, thanks later. Facts. Yeah. Yeah. Just get that fire going. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they hold a lot of fire for sure. Lots of fire energy. So impulsivity, yes. It's also attached to the adrenal glands in the body. So your Aries, they pump out that cortisol, kind of fight and flight or freeze mode quite often. So we're gonna move on. Does anyone have any questions about Aries mythology at all? Okay. We're going to move on to Taurus. Taurus energy. I'd like to know any Tauruses in the group. Oh, Tia, yeah, beautiful. Taurus energy is so beautiful. It's ruled by Venus. So you go from Mars to Venus. So you go with the masculine, and then you're in the feminine. So Taurus is it's the mythology of Theseus. So Theseus goes through the labyrinth and gets lost, and he goes for love. So Taurus are always in this eventual cycle of finding love, which is beautiful. Taurus energy is very powerful in the sense that Neptune is actually the bringer of this illusionary world. In the astrological philosophy of it, Neptune creates this world for all of us. It is a gift given by Neptune and bestowed by Zeus. So Neptune creates the construct of this illusion for us because it's the god of illusion, it's the god of the mystery. So when Zeus comes and brings spark or light to the imagination that Neptune has, and he brings it forward into us to all experience, of course he gives it to man, he gives it to woman, and they covet it. They want it. They want more of it. Ooh, I want that. I want this. I want the 5th sensory. I want that, that experience. I want this. And Neptune always gave the gift by saying, this is temporary. You can love it. It's beautiful for you to experience, but it's temporary, and I'll need it back when you're done with it. I need you to give it back to me. It's a gift for a time, but it's not eternal. So we have to give it back. So the man at the time was like, oh, I think I'm going to be really wise, and I'm going to give him a version of what he gave me back. And Taurus, the version of what he gives is kind of like a painted bull, because the gift is given through a bull, which is the representation of the sacred cattle, which was their main source of sustenance for their village. So it's considered, the bull is considered the feminine material abundance or nutriment that you get. So he tried to dress up this cow, say, hey, we're going to give this back to you now, we're ready to give this back. And he was like, this is not what I gave you. This is a false representation of what I've given you. So it is a false idol of what I've given you, and you're giving me back your regurgitated idea of what this is, and it's not that. So now I'm angry. Because if you play with this too long, it will be not beneficial for you. We're not meant to be here long. We have little short stints that our soul goes through here. So what had happened then is because Zeus wants to mingle with humanity, wants to continue forth humanity, and so he takes the woman and he procreates with her. And through that procreation, he gives the Minotaur. The Minotaur is half bull, half man. And the hybridness of that was too much for humanity to take hold. So she loved her creation so much, she shunned him away, and he built the labyrinth, and he asked for consumption. Like, if I'm going to survive, you're going to have to give me sacrifices. Those sacrifices will be 7 boys, 7 girls, and I want them to come to me, and we'll see if they can move through this labyrinth without being devoured. Which is our love relationships. We all move through our love relationships with so much angst at times, and in the unknown at times, that moves us to kind of, how do we find our way out? We don't really know. So Theseus was the man who goes through and was going to break the cycle of sacrificing so many of these lovers coming together and moving through the cycle. So he uses his beloved, who has a silver cord or thread that drops down through the labyrinth, so he can find his way out by touch. So now you'll see that a lot of Taurus people are very materially touch, sensual, food, 5 sensory. They enjoy it. They want it. It's the level of where they come from for their sense of self. So he uses the thread, which is the cord of awareness of where we come from. If we don't have any cord that's going to get us back to where we are, then how can we move out of the illusion? We'll get lost in it. And then we've forgotten what our truth is. So this is, Taurus energy is so beautiful in the sense that it always wants to go back to the root and find out the why. It's riddled with it, quite honestly, a lot of times. So the Venus energy is really about being able to walk in the dark with knowing where you're rooted together. It's always, Venus energies are always in pairs. So you'll notice that when your Venus is ruling a particular zodiac, you'll always find those in pairs together. And so, how do you feel about that interpretation, Tia? Yeah, just to touch it and feel it, right? Yeah, definitely. Facts, yeah. Yeah, and the Taurus energy is ruled by the thymus gland, which is the endocrine system, which is the whole, the whole part of how we move through those toxicities and all that. So, of course, love is the panacea, right? Love is true in every single zodiac. So, any questions about Taurus at all? Okay. We're going to move on to Gemini. Now, Gemini are the twins. That is the immortal self and the mortal self. They're Spartan warriors. So they have a high level of combativeness, which is very true with Geminis, who will often see them as being, or refer to them as being two-faced or split-minded. They have a very high, lofty ideal of themselves and then a very low ideal of themselves. It comes in and out based off how they're feeling in the moment about the data that they're processing. Now, Castor and Pollux were brothers, and they had a deep love for each other. They were, I believe, Castor was the one who was mortal. He was wounded mortally, and Pollux, being the immortal, said, "Give him a part of my immortality, so that he can be with me forever, and we don't have to be separated from each other." So he was granted that and allowed to stay in resonance with with each other. So they kind of shared the balance of what that was. Geminis are extremely intellectually sparring. They're great orators, and they enjoy community. They enjoy communication. They enjoy, merging different frequencies or different polarities of experiences together, which makes Spartan warriors actually extremely versatile. You'll see Spartans are not only warriors, but they're also philosophers. They have a deep rooting to their community, to their families, to their siblings. We have any Geminis in the group here? No Geminis here. Okay. They're beautiful. I'm Gemini rising. We have an ascendant sign. Yes. Are you Gemini rising? Beautiful. Yeah. And your dad, yeah, your dad is a Gemini. Yeah, Geminis really like to get to the bottom of things, and they like to communicate a lot. So communication is a big part of creation for them. We're going to move on to Cancer. Cancer energy is ruled by the moon. It's a very emotional sign. It's a very nurturing sign. It really has a lot of foundational understanding of family, where you go to rest your head, where you get support, where you feel comforted, where you feel aligned. The Cancer mythology is often depicted twofold. One is the mythology of Cancer is Cancers often come out as game changers. They come out of nowhere. They come out of nowhere. Like, they will lay in wait for a while until they're ready to sprout. And when they sprout forward, they do this amazing thing, which is they seem like they're moving away from you, but they actually have their eyes on you like 100% all the time. And when they move over to the side and they see you not looking, that's when they strike. So the Cancer energy, the mythology of that is Cancer took out the greatest warrior of the Greco-Roman entourage, which was Achilles. So now we hear about Achilles' heel. We hear about, your weakest ligament. Once that gets cut, you're down. You're out for the count. You can be as strong, you can lift as much weight as you want. It doesn't matter. If you can't get up, you can't use that strength. So that was one of the ways that the Trojan War was won in the Greek, is that the Cancer came out, clipped Achilles' heel, and he went down. It's very David and Goliath-esque kind of mythology or story in that regard. Cancers are severe protectors. They will protect what is theirs. They won't let anyone else broach anything that would bring uncomfort or broach anything that will be unpeaceful to the family dynamic. That's a big part of what their superpower is and what they're here for. Do we have any Cancers in the group? Cancer? Cancer? Cancer rising, yes. How does that resonate? Very protective, yeah. Yeah, I know these two, so yes, they're very protective. The Cancer energy is a water sign. These are ruled by their emotions. Oftentimes they do their best to serve and 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 serve. And they have a hard time asking for help. They have a hard time being served. So one of their biggest things is allowing other people to serve them and allowing other people to give to them, because the balance it can be a little bit off, because they can pull their energy so much by overgiving, even though you love to do it. It's just like learning the balance of it. Does that ring true? Ring true? Okay. Yeah. Okay, Leo energy. Leo energy is so great. It's a fire sign. It is one of the pinnacle mythologies in astrology. It is considered the Hercules' 12 labors, which was the Nemean lion. The Nemean lion is associated with the indestructible hide. It means no matter what happens to it, it will not die. You can stick it, you can burn it, you can put an arrow through it. It's you can whatever. It's just not going to go anywhere. Hercules, he shows us how to use power. Now think about it. Hercules was a demigod, meaning that he had the potency of the gods within his blood, and then he had the potency of man. Within he was a demigod. He's the first human archetype that shows us the integrated being of the spiritual and the male, and the human expression. Hercules, because he didn't understand his power, unfortunately goes through a tragedy. And the tragedy that it goes through is he ends up killing his wife and his children in a rage. He wasn't really aware that it had happened. What's that? Yes. Mm-hmm. In his rage, he decimates the very people that love him. And he has to go through the 12 labors to atone for it, because he's racked with guilt. He's racked with an awareness that his power is so great that he has to learn how to channel. He has to learn how to go through it. He has to learn how to resolve it for himself. So the Leo energy is Hercules goes to the Nemean lion, which is the indestructible force. And he does everything in his might to destroy this lion. And eventually he does. He destroys it. When he wears it over him as, a pride to his understanding that all things need to be destroyed in order to be reborn. We have to understand that life continues not here, but there. We're eternal there. Here we're limited. Here we have limitation. Here we understand the importance of death. Here we understand the importance of pruning, cutting, destroying. There's a reverence to the limitation we have here. So Hercules goes through this, understanding that his power comes through structured conquest and not just the involvement of the fire that comes out of the Leo. It has to be channeled. It has to be moved through. This is very important. Who's a Leo in the group? I know a couple Leos here. Leo, Leo, Leo. How does this ring? Does this ring true for any of you? Yes, 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 yeah. There's a level of like potency the Leo energy has that is so amazing because you're the heroes, like the legit heroes that help people move through so much. But if you don't have that channel, it's you're a blowtorch to everybody who's like Pompeii. You know. So the way that it is most resolved is just by going through the life cycle, going through the life, going through the experience, going through the awareness of it. You know, your life is your panacea. Your life will become how much can I grow in this energy and how much do I need to reserve this energy? How may I channel this energy? It's understanding the right use of power, the appropriate use of power, and how effective it can be for you because you just embody it. That makes sense. So we're going to move on to Virgo. Any Virgos in the group? Virgo, beautiful. Virgo energy is also ruled by Venus. The distinct thing of Virgo is it is the mythology of Hades and Persephone and Persephone's mother, Demeter. Now, with most Virgos, what you'll find in their love relationships, because it's moved by the energy of Venus, is it's an unrequited love. Or if it is in love, it is for a season, and then it passes, and then it comes back around, and then it passes. Because Persephone and Hades did fall deeply in love with each other, but Demeter wasn't allowed to come with them. And Demeter and Persephone were inseparable, a mother and daughter bond that was inseparable. And so Demeter, when Persephone left, this is why winter came to this earth, because she was so heartbroken that her daughter was away from her that she didn't allow anything else to grow. So Persephone had to plead with Hades and say, well, humanity needs some nurturement. They need food. Can I please go back? I do miss my mother. This is really where we get the story of Beauty and the Beast from, is the level of going back to our parents, going back to our origin of love and safety, so, as we're in the midst, in the throes of the lover and the beloved, and you'll find many Virgos that bring in partners and that their parents won't be very accepting of them. It's really a hard rub for a lot of Virgo energy. So we have to learn how to be okay with whoever you love in the face of feeling like you have to please everyone. Virgo energy is about the details. Demeter was allowed 6 months out of the year because Hades said, give her a pomegranate, and how many seeds she picks to eat out of that is how long that you can be with her during the year. So she's with her 6 months at the time, and then she's with Hades 6 months at the time. So it allows them to have the energy, but they're not all together. So a lot of times when Virgo energy is in relationship, it's difficult for all the families to come together in heart coherence with each other. And you just have to be true to what feels good for you. Now, these are also stereotypes. So you have other energies in your chart. Well, it won't make it a fixed thing. It will make it just a thing to examine or a thing to look at. Hey, is this actually turning out? Is Persephone was so loving. There's a beautiful thing about Hades. Hades is not only the god of hell, right? But Hades is the god of heaven. Because Hades is the gatekeeper to the underworld. So Hades rules the breaking of the veil. He's the gatekeeper of heaven, and he's the gatekeeper of hell. He allows you to go through both doors based off your choice. Persephone allowed him to create heaven. Without her, heaven would never exist. So there's a beautiful thing in being able to look at the feminine and the masculine in unification with each other and understanding what is born from that, which is what Venus is trying to teach all of us, this right relationship. So Virgos, I know it's very tender. Anyone relate to any of what I'm saying? Yes. Okay.
I see my fiance is Virgo.
Yes.
And that's
Definitely coming up. Yeah.
Like, I can see him having
Yeah.
this little tail and everything.
Yes.
All the softest details and
Yes.
staying objective.
Exactly. Tia?
I just wanted to share my son's a Virgo,
Yes.
and we are like so close.
So close with the parents. Yeah.
And he's actually chosen to play Hades and got the part.
Yeah. Of course, yeah, beautiful, yeah. There's something wonderful about the Virgo energy. They see the organization of things and the systems of things only because they're rooted in life and death. It's the cycles of nature. You know, if you understand how the parts work, you can keep it alive. If you don't understand how the parts work, then it will die. So you have to keep building. You have to keep essence of it going, you know. So beautiful. We're going to move on now to Libra. A what? A Vibra? A Virgo Libra? Of course. The Virgo side and the Libra side, yeah. Yes, you can be a Vibra. I've never heard that before, so thank you so much. Yeah, that's a beautiful. A Vibra, yeah. I love it. We're going to start a whole new mythological creature. The Vibras come out. Yeah. Libra energy is also ruled by Venus. Now, there's twofold here. Artemis was the god of justice and god of war. She is the Greek goddess that embodies Libra. However, if you go back to Chaldean and Babylonian astrology, you'll understand that it's actually the Egyptian goddess Mot who rules Libra energy. Now, Artemis is just a reformation of Mot from the Greek mythology. So it all kind of blends together because of the melding of our cultures. But Mot is the goddess of, she is the goddess of heaven and hell as well. She's the counterpart in the female aspect of Hades. She allows us to move through to the next cycle of our soul's awareness based on the weight of our heart. So Libras are driven by their heart, 100%. If they are feeling dense and low in their heart, they get very weighed down, extremely weighed down. If their hearts are light and vibrant, they are much more open, they're much more friendly. But Libras go through some very intense moods, some very intense energies, because this world is not fair. This world is not balanced. This world is not equal in its exchanges. And so Libra will always look at the world as being unfair, and a level of them being something, can I get it? I hear from Libras often, just the energy signature. Can I get a break? Can I please get a break? Like, I would like a break. I would like, to feel some level of lightness because of how much I have to carry. The Libra energy is being able to lay down your swords, lay down your armor, especially if you're a Vibra, because you're double Venus ruled. Venus wants you to lay down all of your weapons. No! I know. I hear you. It's the toughest thing. But it's like you've been at battle so long. You're in battle so long because you're in Neptune's gift. And when you return to the goddess, that's when you know you can be light. So you let go of your armor. Your chainmail comes off. Your armor goes down. Your batholith, whatever, your helmet comes off. Your shield, the aegis comes off. You remove it all. You remove everything. Because you can't see her any other way. She won't allow you in her presence. And you know you're of her. So you're the ones that are often in bed in the fetal position, praying to the goddess. And that's a beautiful archetype to hold for the rest of humanity. Because we have to learn how to let go of our armor. As you can see, we're all armored up in our collective consciousness right now. We're all armored up. We all have our helmets, our swords, our guns, our weapons, full on. And it will weigh us down. So, thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. Any other Libras in the house? Because I know all of them. Libra, thank you for your service, woman. I appreciate you so much. It's a profound thing when we're walking through the mythology of these things. It has a resonance to the pulse of our construct of being, of our identity. We're meant to have identities here. That's why we're all separate. We have identities, we have things. This is something I really enjoyed about Kay Vaughn's talk on human design and how much it taught him and reached him personally, was something made sense to him. Now he had a construct of it making sense. The making sense allows us to have movement. So all of these, astrological understandings is really to make sense of your life. It's to make sense of your journey. It's to help you along, to get you to the next moment of your awareness. And truly, truly how much power you have as an individual. What you're here to do, what your mission is, why you're here in this temporary gift that we're all participating in. I'm going to move to Scorpio. Love me some Scorpios. My youngest daughter's a Scorpio. The Scorpio, anyone Scorpio here? Do you have any Scorpio energy here? Yeah. Yeah. Besides the stellium Claude, big Scorpio. Yeah. Okay, Scorpio energy, they are not afraid of the dark at all. Taurus is the opposite frequency of Scorpio. Tauruses aren't afraid of the dark. Scorpios aren't afraid of the dark. They're not afraid of the dark. They're not afraid of the shadow. Taurus likes to come pop its head out of the dark more often than Scorpio. But Scorpios are not afraid of the dark. And this is why I say this. Scorpio is ruled by Hades. And it's also ruled by Mars. We have a co-rulership here with Scorpio. Mars is the god of war, and Pluto is Hades. It's god of the underworld, of hell and heaven. Scorpios will go to the darkest place within their soul in order to understand what is being attacked and what needs to be protected, what needs to be battled for everyone else. So if you meet a Scorpio sun, you'll often find them externalizing their shell like an exoskeleton. You might see them tatted up. You might see them with every piercing available for them. You might see them like very fierce, very prickly in their appearance, because on the inside, they have the softest, softest underbelly. And they have to learn how to protect themselves, so they often do that through their appearance. Scorpius was a creature that would protect he's in the position of protecting the animal kingdom. That means every animal that doesn't have a voice, every person that doesn't have a voice. You'll often see Scorpios the die-hard humanitarians in the world. They're going to take care of other people. It will come hell or high water if they have to. Um, I know the Scorpio sun has that, but other planets, like I said, Venus, Mercury, the moon, if you have a Scorpio energy like that, that's what you're going to do with it. Orion was considered a very skilled warrior and very arrogant within himself. He said, wow, I'm like the best warrior. I'm going to go kill all the game. I'm going to go kill all the kingdom. I'm going to take all of them out. Why? Because I can, because I'm awesome, right? So, yeah, they have the flip side, which is this arrogance, and then they have the other flip side. Is like, wait, if I do that, who am I? Who am I going to hurt? Who's going to be hurt by my entitled nature of knowing I can do this? So the Scorpio will protect. It's going to protect anything that it can. They love small animals. They enrich themselves, children, LBGT, any disenfranchised person that has never been given their rightful place of voice. You'll find often that Scorpios will protect those people and those causes. Um, so Orion came. He's going to wipe out the kingdom. Scorpius, which is the magical scorpion, finds this out and says, "Not on my watch." And he basically just goes to Orion and kills him. It's just, clear cut, black, white, done. Orion's gone. So all the animal kingdom gets to flourish. Everyone's like, yay, Scorpio, thank you so much for saving us. We love you. And then Scorpio goes back in its shell. This is anytime, leave me alone until you need something. Scorpios are extremely private people. They don't like people knowing them. This is why they're so mysterious. Any Scorpios in the group? Your son? Yeah, Scorpio moon back there. Woo-hoo. So true. And my youngest daughter is a Scorpio. There's a level of ownership, possession the Scorpio goes through. This is also true for Taurus. The possessiveness of protection, things that need to be protected, is so innate in them that they can't ever shake it because it's their function. They're meant to do it. So, anyone have any Scorpios in your lives? In their lives? Scorpio, Scorpio, Scorpio. Yeah. Yeah. Any of these ring true in your relationship ideas or? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Got it. Right. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. It's like you think about the Scorpios or any type of creature that's exoskeleton. Because you look at the Cancer and you look at Scorpio, they have an exoskeleton shell. So they're very hidden. They don't really like a lot of attention on them, to be honest. But when they do get attention, they're going to spin it to protect other people. Yeah. So, but the Pisces, which we'll get at the end, is also a water sign, but they're not exoskeleton. So it's just really interesting how all of these myths and animals and mythical creatures, how they all express their own element of being. Um, we're going to move to Sagittarius now. Sagittarius is really interesting. You won't find too much about it outside of Chiron, which was considered a centaur, half horse, half man, who was wounded by Zeus trying to save Hercules on his 12 labors. So you might see a Sag and a Leo like hang out. They have good vicinity with each other. Um, Sagittarius is a part of the cult of Dionysus in Greek mythology. Dionysus was the god of wine and ecstasy, states of ecstasy with the divine. Now, Sagittarius rules the philosopher, so they're very rooted in philosophies and higher ideals of living. They're also can at times be great musicians. Dionysus' clan was followed by Pan, who was the flute maker. You know, if you think of Pan, he's the satyr. So I believe that the satyr is actually the most mythological creature that's rooted with Sagittarius versus the centaur. And the reason why is the satyr will be the playful one that goes around to all the nymphs and try to have a relationship with them. If you meet a lot of Sagittarius, they're very extremely extroverted, and they're going to go and want to play with anyone who's up and willing to play with them. You know, um, they also can have some addiction issues. They could drink sometimes, or they're coming through alcoholic, cycles for themselves. You might notice that in a Sagittarius. Anyone here Sagittarius? Before I continue outing you, you do. You're Sag rising, right? Yes. There's levels of addiction only because of the ecstatic state. They're always moving to the next ecstatic state for themselves, the sense of bliss, the sense of wonder, the sense of divine union, and most often time that comes through elixir, the elixir of the gods, which at the time was wine. So there is a lot of moving into those modes and those awarenesses for a Sagittarius themselves. They're considered the philosopher, but they're also the adventurer, the explorer. This Dionysus cult actually moved from places to place to place. It wasn't always just rooted in one area, so they kind of had like hubs all the way around. So, does anyone have Sagittarius people in their life that they know? Yeah, your son-in-law. Okay. Does this ring true with the Sages that you know? A little bit. Yeah, and again, it's a stereotype. You know, we have other frequencies that are moving through our holistic chart. These are just the myths behind them, you know. I'm going to move to Capricorn energy. Capricorn, uh, I'm a Capricorn moon. I kind of have a little disdain for interpretation of Capricorn only because, you know, it's a part of myself. So Capricorn energy is considered non-emotional. And that is just, for me, it doesn't ring true at all because I'm extremely emotional. So the Capricorn rune is just reserved in their emotional state. So they just don't show it. It doesn't mean they're not feeling it, you know. The Capricorn myth is really beautiful. It's considered, in essence, the first mythical creature because it has a sea, it has a fishtail with a goat head. So it's considered a goat with a fishtail. It's like kind of a mythical creature in and of itself. However, if you look at the Sadar, that is the goat man. So it's the goat with the human essence of it. So the Capricorn energy is about feeling as though you're on a mission that was given to you by your father. It's very heavy authority. It's ruled by Saturn energy. Caprius was a sea goat that came out of the depths of the ocean and evolved onto the land for the specific reason of going up to the mountaintop. So many Capricorns will try to break the glass ceiling. They're going to try and overcome other people, kind of get rid of the competition, so to speak, or to have some kind of a level of accolades or accomplishments that shows their validity for what they're doing in their life. You'll see them as being very hard workers or very astute in the field that they're in. They're oftentimes looked at kind of like uptight. They can be extremely reserved. They have a lot of energy within themselves only for the mission that they're meant to fortify. It's like almost like showing up and showing that, you know, you can swim to the depths of the ocean and then you can sidestep it up a mountain with ease. It's a lot of, you don't really want to know people who have that kind of superpower. You know, so Capricorns are really reserved. They're very protective. They're very quiet most often. You would find that to be true with the Capricorn energy. They always feel like they have a mission to accomplish. And that won't ever change. You might see them like stop working so hard, stop doing this. It's like, but I feel driven to, like I can't help myself but do it. So there's that level. Any Capricorns in the group at all? Cap rising back there, Cap moon here. Anyone know any Capricorns in their life? Yes, yes. When you think of Capricorn, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Capricorn. You trust Capricorns? Are they? Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Yeah, because they're hard workers and they do what they say and they do. Yeah. Yeah. They get it done. Oh, and your mom's a Capricorn too. Oh. Hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting because in every astrological archetype, it's a snowflake. You're never going to see the same chart twice, ever, because it's all rooted in time. The second, the day, no time is the same. So she may have other things in her chart which dampens that energy within her, a little bit. Um, yes. Hmm. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Like Capricorns are ruled by Saturn. Saturn is it's a heavy hitter in the planetary, which Claude will teach more about, like the planetary aspects of it. Um, I think the Capricorn energy, it's considered the mystic only because it has the experience of going to the depth and up to the heights. So it sees all realms of the illusion, and then from there, it can disseminate the messages that need to come out for people to be aware of, just through that landscape of awareness and hard work. So we're going to move to Aquarius. Aquarius energy. This is ruled by Uranus. And for a time, it was ruled also by Saturn. So Aquarius energy they're considered the revolutionaries. They come and bring in a new vision for humanity. Um, I'm going to get his name wrong, but Guydomine was considered the most beautiful youngest male, like pre kind of like adolescent male before adulthood. He's considered extremely beautiful, and Zeus falls in love with him, and he swoops him up in the form of an eagle. Like Zeus always took these other forms of himself to be intermixing with humanity. What's that? Facts. So he swoops down as an eagle, and he gets Guydomine and brings him up to Mount Olympus, and he becomes Zeus's right hand man, and he's considered the the representation of God energy flowing down into humanity through Guydomine's service. So he's the pallbearer of the water of life to humanity. And Aquarius energy is often associated with LGBTQ energies. It's also associated with different forms of vision or radical invention. It also rules internet technology or technology in general. It also rules like extraterrestrial awarenesses and UFO. It's anything that like shakes up our brain and lets us see it from a new lens, lets us see it from a new perspective. It's one thing for the gods to come down and walk among us. It's another thing for a human being to be swept up by the gods and taken to where gods live. That's Aquarius. Aquarius lives where gods are. So they're going to come across extremely inventive. They're going to come across have a lot of ingenuity. They're going to shake up the collective stream of consciousness and bring us new forms of thought. Anyone in here in Aquarius? Aquarius? Yanama. Any of these ring true for you? Yes. Beautiful. Um, I think, does anyone know Aquarius? Aquarius is. Yes, you know Aquarius is. What's your first take on your Aquarius person? You don't speak to them anymore? Okay. Sure. Yeah, they get a bad rap. Um, the Aquarius energy, not to out Josh or anything, but he's a double Aquarius, and he put all of this together in a very short amount of time. And his ingenuity and his level of vision and his ability to see things was like unparalleled. So there's a rich collective need that we have for Aquarius energy in and of itself to help push humanity forward. They're considered the humanitarians for a reason, is because they live with the gods and they're serving the life water to humanity. So they want humanity to benefit from it. They want everyone to benefit from all of the ingenuity and the vision and the inspiration that they receive from the gods because they live there. That makes sense. Yes. I believe it. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. They can be very excitable. They have a grand vision. I have a lot of dear friends that are Aquarius energies, and they really bring forward a different way to do. But their ADD is like off the scales. I have a really great friend. Marcus knows him. His name is Roland, and he will talk every third word, and he trails off few of his words. You can appreciate this, Shannon. He trails off a few of his words at the end, so it's like we get the gist, but he's already in 5 sentences ahead of himself. Like he can't articulate too much because he's already there, And he's like, you know what I mean? And I was like, well, yeah, we know each other, and I know what you mean, but the communication style needs to go up. you know, these every single myth we touch on just in our own beinghood, because we are all the signs in some way. And Claude will touch on this earlier or later as we go forward. A Pisces energy is the last of the zodiac. It goes Aries all the way through each one of the constellations back to Pisces. Pisces energy is ruled by Neptune. So we see it's the end of. It's the end of the cycle. It's ruled by Neptune. Why? Because Neptune is ready to give its gift back. It's ready now to grab the illusion and bring it back. So Pisces allows us to see what the illusion is. Pisces gives us the perspective of all of the signs merged into one sign. They're heavy feelers. They're extremely empathetic. They have a resonance of poetry, music, imagination, um, deep spiritual insights that can borderline on creating a new religion or starting some movement for people in a spiritual way. They're also musicians, artists, poets, the collective stream of trying to bring down what is ethereal into the material. That's the nature of a Pisces energy. Um, the the mythology behind Pisces is Venus ruled, even though it's Neptunian governed, meaning that Aphrodite and her son Eros were running away from Typhoon, which was a creature that Saturn created to kind of wipe out all of the lower gods. Aphrodite being one of them, her son being one of them, Cupid, Eros, which is the love. Cupid shoots you in your heart and you fall in love. This is the unrequited love. It's the tethered soul. It's the soul union. It's the soul contract. Pisces energy allows us to be able to see deeper than the material world and the value of it, the essence of it itself. Um, any Pisces in the group at all? Pisces, Pisces. Does this ring true? Ring true? Yeah. The Aphrodite and Eros walk together. The only way they can find safety from typhoon is to deeply dive into the ocean, to go to the depths of the ocean, into the subconscious, into the realm of the unknown, in order to find safety, because they're going back into the eternal sense of self, which is our everlasting self, not our temporal self, not the limited self, but back into the truth of the self. And that's Pisces' gift. Pisces allows us to see the truth of ourselves by being tethered to its beloved at the same time. So it's always in search of the other, always. And if you're a Vibra and you have Pisces in your chart and they're in aspect with one another, it's even a heavier understanding of that. Okay? So you're moving through those heroic journeys to find the panacea. The panacea is the integrated love of the masculine and the feminine within yourself. And we live those things out existentially in one another. That is what we're learning. So the myths gives us like the base or the foundational undertone of why these archetypes have meaning for us. And it's a rich oration. We do come from the Western culture, most of us. So understanding that our philosophies are based most often on Greek, Roman, Egyptian, Chaldean philosophies. These are important for us to look at just for the context of us understanding where do we get these meanings from? How can I look to Venus and find any meaning in that? Yeah, this is why, because the myths are our oration. They're our stories. They allow us to connect to the love of Venus, to the goddess of Venus, to the nurturement of Venus, to Venus's heart, to the mother, you know. And then that is true for Mars, and it's true for Pluto, and all these aspects of ourselves, Mercury, which I'm so excited for Claude to fill you in on all that as we go. Do you guys have any questions at all about what you've learned? Is there anything you'd like to know about astrology at all or have an interest in it? Yes, June. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. There is so many. Astrology in itself is so complex. I was just expressing to Chanel the other day. You can look at your biorhythmic charts. You can look at your transits that come up in time. You can look at the composite chart between two people and learn how those energies will integrate and what lessons they have to learn from each other moving forward. You can do multiple composites. You also have your birth chart, which is your natal chart, but you also have a progress chart because time is continually going. And those solar planets are shifting, which shifts the energy of where you're at. So, in terms of interpersonal relations, to ask your question, it would be good to look at a composite chart of your energies together to see actually how they're resonating with one another. And if you're really on top of it, you'll be able to get a partner who's willing to sit down with you, look at those energies, and tackle them with you and work with you on those energies. Because all of us have energies that are positive for us, and all of us have energies that are not so positive, but they're all good. Because without contrast, we're not going to learn anything. Without some lesson that we're here for, we're not going to learn anything. So it's just being honoring to those energies and seeing why they're here. And to go even deeper into it, the marrying systems on top of each other is very beneficial, like what Kayvon does with the human design. a beautiful way to marry those energies together and how they're working together. But astrology in and of itself is extremely viable to start somewhere. I'll just give you a brief background of how I learned about astrology. I have had a very mystical experience when I was 5 years old. I've come in very conscious. I've lived a huge journey in the awareness of myself. I went through what's called a breakthrough or awakening, which we will have many of those throughout our life cycle all the time. But the one that I had allowed me to have a full pineal blowout, basically, and I was able to see a lot of energies, auric fields, and different awarenesses and different energies. And I started studying even deeper than I had previously about what all this was. Why is that I'm getting psychic impressions? Why am I understanding these things? And so I started studying psychic, Edgar Casey, actually, who was a turn of the century psychic, and read some of his material. And he started mentioning astrology in the material. And I was really interested in that. And I went to go get a book, Astrology. If you ever are interested in it at all, Mackenzie, you may be. Astrology, a Cosmic Science. It was written the year I was born, 1970, by Isabel Hickey. My daughter's name is Isabel. So there's like these these little synchronistic things. When I opened the book and I started reading it, it's like I knew it. I just knew it. And I went to go erect a chart, and it was like I could read it. It's like I already was remembering things that I had learned from before. And one day I had a very difficult transit, and I didn't know where it was coming from. I couldn't put, why am I feeling this way? I'm just feeling this way. But I didn't put an association. I didn't know what was going on during the day to make me feel so in it. And I went to go look at my transits, and I had a Uranus squaring my moon that I actually have natal in my chart, which is a hard aspect to Uranus, which is a disruptor, and your emotions. And so it just gave me a lot of frequency, a lot of energy. As soon as I saw it, I was able to diffuse it. As soon as I knew what was happening, I was able to let it go and just say, oh, I'm just hysterical today. I can either create the meaning of being hysterical, or I can channel the energy of hysteria. How am I going to channel the energy of hysteria? I am going to give something really good to myself. So I gave myself a bath, and I calmed down, and I put Epsom salts in it, and I played beautiful music, and I calmed, and I watched a really crazy John Waters movie that was very Uranian in nature, and it helped me peace out. It helped me. So I think for me, this tool was kind of a lifesaver for me, and learning how to understand the energies and how to move through them more effectively for myself. So I appreciate your time so much. Thank you for everything. I hope you got a lot out of it. Yeah. Thank you, Lord. Appreciate you.